Afternoon. This is Hexy. Let's talk a little GOSS. A little gossage. A little gossination. A little gossinaya. So, with my commitment to this game, I will learn how to play this. I ordered the $5 player aids to make sure I had all the latest. To make sure I got the latest rules. And, I went through, had a scenario set up. I learned how to do the fire support missions, which I think I got that down pretty good. I did some ground assaults. I didn't get to video that because my new Brio webcam came in and I dropped it right in the middle of the battlefield. A little tiny area, about that big, and I dropped it in the middle of it and shook everything. So I said, well, you know what? I think I got that down pretty good. And I said, well, let's move on to the next scenario. And then as I was setting up the next scenario, September Rush, I think it's called, I decided, well, we might as well do the campaign and learn as we go. Turns out that you, doing the campaign game, you can set it up for either starting in September, October, or November, which is like 3 scenarios. So I chose, well, we'll start in September. And starting in September, see this wonderful record track up here, starts at game turn 1. Goes all the way to game turn 95. I got German reinforcements set on up there. So I went ahead and deployed them. Then I realized it's a little screwy. And then I got Clay to send me the actual printed out reinforcement chart, which did not come with the game. So I decided, well, I won't do the Americans. I'll use the reinforcement chart. Probably a good thing. Or I won't set the Americans on the turn record track. I'll use the reinforcement chart. So, and I'll do that with the Germans too. And it's probably a good thing because I found, you've got pools that the Germans draw reinforcements from. These cups you put stuff in. There's like 3 of them, which I got them sitting over here. A, B, and C. And they get to draw like 10 out of A, or they can forfeit 3 and draw 1 from B. And then I don't even know what C is for. I'll figure that later. And then the Americans have a bunch of core units that are in their cup for a draw. And there's a chart you roll on or something like that to see how many you draw. And I'll get to that when I get to that. So I was messing around with the sequence of play from the player aids, which would be the recent ones. And yesterday afternoon or yesterday morning I started this. And I was going hit or miss. I'd come in, do something, take a break. Got to get my 6 or 7 naps in while I'm on vacation each day. So I came in and probably over a period of 5 hours, I started in on the turn record chart here, on the sequence of play, and it took me all day to get through this side right here, okay? I'm finally getting into where the movement and stuff is, and I'll be starting that. So I had to go through all these things yesterday, and I hit a snag when it came to ammo and fuel delivery. So got my good buddy, LBW Steve, who he and Clay are playing Vakdam Rhine. They're both very, very good with this rule set. I mean, if you need a question answered, they're a good one. They're a good bunch to go to. So Steve got on. I messaged him saying I was having an issue with something, and he called me, and we went through the process. And I'm going to try to cover that process, and this is going to be with ammo and fuel. So you have these things called truck points. And it's on the turn record track. Tells you what each side gets each turn. So, as you can see, let's do the American side here first. Well, we will if I can ever turn the thing. There we go. No? Maybe not. Maybe not. Do I got this? Oh, I got too snug. There we go. All right. So, you got truck points, and you got this counter right here. Where is it? Let me find it. Trucks, right here. All right. That's the trucks for 1st Army. The German 7th Army has one also. All right, so you get that trucks thing, and it tells you get 4 points, 4 truck points, all right, on the first turn. And so did the Germans. They got 4, all right. Well, you have to assign those truck points. And you assign them to one of 3 things: ammo delivery, fuel delivery, or motorization, okay? Haven't gotten to motorization yet, but ammo and fuel were important. So I thought to myself, well, this is the first game turn. Everybody's going to have their bullets and their beans. So probably what I should do is just assign all those trucks to fuel. So I said, okay, we're going to take those trucks. we're going to get them off of there, and we are going to put the trucks at fuel points. All right. So we assign them to full. I'll make sure I got the right one here. Oh, First Army Fuel. Sorry. All right. So I did that. And we assigned all the trucks to running fuel. Then you go down through your rules and you get to ammo delivery segment, which is first. And you have a chart that you roll on. Well, if you don't have any trucks assigned to ammo, and you roll and you get a negative number on that roll for ammo, and you don't have any ammo reserve on the chart up there, which I didn't have at the start of the game, there are no ammo points. It's sitting over here at 0, okay? Then you have to reduce the ADV by 1 for every 2 points of negative ammo you got on that chart. Well, I was reading the chart wrong, and I thought I ended up getting a -6, so it would have taken the artillery depletion value down to 1, and that's not good. We've gotten to why that's not good. I'll explain to that later on when I get into the actual combat and artillery and stuff like that. And the Germans ended up coming down to 2 because they had a -4. Well, it turns out I read the chart wrong. I had the die roll numbers across the top, not the left side like most charts are. So it ended up it was actually 0 for both. Okay, so I still had my 4 fuel points, and then you roll on another chart, and I ended up with 7. Once I used all of those, I ended up with 7 fuel points. Where is it? Where'd my marker go? Right there. With 7 fuel points. All right. And then you have to issue fuel to your units with those 7 points. All right, in order for the mechanized and motorized parts of those units to move. So, in this game here, all of the American divisions are considered mechanized. Let's see if I can't get this where you can see it here. All right. So over here we got the 3rd Armored Division. All right. Well, they're definitely mechanized. Okay. And for the Americans, they're all considered mechanized for issuing out fuel points. So in order to get for a certain number of turns, the American 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Armored Division in this game, I don't remember where that turn sequence stops at, but definitely for the first turn, the normal routine would be 2 fuel points to give them normal movement. But for this game, Hurtgen, Hell's Forest, it's 3, all right? And it's for the armored divisions. All right, normally it'd be 2. So I had to burn 3 fuel points here to get them normal operations, and I'll explain what all that means here in a minute. All right, I decided to give low fuel to the 1st Infantry, low fuel to the 9th, low fuel to the 30th, and then I put low fuel for the 7th Corps, no, the 19th Corps, and no fuel for the 7th Corps, and no fuel for 17th Army Headquarters, or 1st Army Headquarters. All right, and of course, before I learned how this works, I'm thinking, man, so I got none of the core assets for anybody are going to be able to move if I give them no fuel. Well, that's not how it works. So let's say we gave low fuel here to the 1st Infantry Division. All right, so when it comes time to determine the movement that they can move, just because you gave them no fuel or low fuel, or you gave them normal, you got one of 3 choices. Normal's the best, low fuel's in the middle, no fuel's the bottom. What this does, this is, as Steve explained to me, this is a prioritization system. Set your priorities. I wanted to make sure that 3rd Armored was going to have every ability they had. For the low fuel, for the 1st Infantry, which I need them to attack too, you have another chart that you will roll on when it comes time to get these guys going. And it is called, that way when you look it up later you'll know, it is called, gotta find it here, sorry. It's called the fuel level table. So in a sense, you're doing fuel twice. You get your overall fuel points, you assign them out to your formations, all right? And then, depending on what you gave them, you roll on that chart. All right, so this was a low fuel level, and you roll on the, matter of fact, I'll show it to you. You roll on that chart at the, yeah, you're not going to see it. Anyhow, it's a chart up top there. Let me pull away and you can look at it this way. So you got this chart up here. All right, your fuel level table. So you roll, and then under the no fuel or low fuel, whatever you roll on a D10, you're going to get a number. So let's say we went ahead and we rolled a 7. All right, for a low fuel formation, we get a number 7. All right, what that means is you can either have, and this applies to mechanized units, not to the leg units. All right, you can have in that formation 7 units can move, 7 mechanized or motorized units can move at their full value, just like a normal move. Or you can have every mechanized unit in the formation can move at 7 movement points. So whatever that dice roll is, whatever result you come up with, either you can move that many mechanized or motorized units, their full value, or the entire formation, everybody can move at that value for movement points. So if you rolled a 6, that would mean every unit in the formation has 6 movement points. And that's how that fuel thing, because I'm not going to lie, I was thinking, my God, they're going to make this game tough with, you can't get fuel to your vehicles, they're not going anywhere. It's not like that. And believe me, you can roll a 0, where they won't be able to do nothing, okay? Other than your leg class units will be able to move, all right? So keep that in mind. Don't freak out if you don't have the points to assign to everybody. Yeah, you might get unlucky. That's just the way it goes. That's the way the dice roll, so to speak. So like I said, I spent all yesterday when I got to that point, and I got through this. Funny too, because Steve talked to me probably about a good 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And I was stumbling around with it because I didn't understand why you were rolling for fuel twice. And he explained it to me, and I grasped it. And then about 5 minutes after I got off the phone of him explaining it to me, it all sunk in, and it became natural. All right. The Americans, it takes a lot more to supply them, but then in this game, you hit a certain point where you don't have to worry about it. They're always fueled up and ready to go. Germans, a little different. They don't have the mechanized units that the Allies do. So when you're doing the Germans, and you got a chart that tells you how many points you need to spend fuel points to get them to normal or low or whatever. But most of the Germans are leg class formations. The ones that have P for like Panzer or PG for like Panzer Grenadier behind them, or PZ, however, those are going to be your mechanized formations, all right? And then everything else will be leg class. A lot cheaper to supply the Germans as far as the leg class goes because you don't have to. So like all of these divisions up in here, they're all leg class units. You don't have to assign fuel points for them to be able to execute or to move or anything like that, other than the mobile things, okay? So, you'll assign no fuel to them, and you'll still roll because you've got you've got like trucks and stuff that are pulling the stuff around, all right? So don't freak out about that. And that's about where I've ended. I figured that was probably important. I don't even want to sit here and try to talk about air. Okay, here, we'll take a shot at air. So you got 4 types of air missions you can fly. There's a 5th one, but it doesn't fall in that same category as when you're doing your air stuff at the beginning of the turn. You've got ground support, you've got ground interdiction, you've got supply interdiction, you've got air superiority. So the Americans get 16 air points. The Germans get I think it's 4. So I decided, okay, we'll just roll some dice, and whatever I come up with, that's how we'll assign the points. So I gave 7 points to ground support, which will be helping the attacks, kind of like artillery fire support missions. And then I gave 4 to supply interdiction and 5 to air superiority, which I never really got into that. All right. So I decided you come through the steps, okay, we got to do supply interdiction. Well, I had to find out, okay, how do you do it? Both offensively, as the Allies doing it, and what do the Germans get to do to respond? Well, in this game, for every city the Germans occupy, and when you're looking at the maps, it's the city ones will be the ones that are in the real bold black, where the buildings are real bold black, and the lighter grayer ones will not be city. They get 1 flak point for every city hex. So I counted them up. I probably missed some, or maybe I rounded, but they got 31 cities. And then you have units that carry flak, like headquarters, and there's a bunch of other ones. I don't know what they are. And they each carry 1 flak point or something. So you have this thing where you can remove them from the map to become an off-board anti-aircraft capability to deal with supply interdiction that the Allies are flying. So when you're flying supply interdiction, you're not flying into a particular place. You're trying to affect the number of trucks or whatever for a particular army. So I decided, okay, I got 4 points for supply interdiction. I'm going to fly them into 7th Army. Well, from that 4 points, you've got to determine how many of those air points do you want to be escort. So I said, oh, great. So instead of 4, I did 2 supply interdiction and 2 escort. Okay, so we're off and we're flying. We're going to do our supply interdiction. Well, then you have German flak. So they get removed from the board in this phase, and then they come back to the board in the same phase on the next game turn, game day. I think it's only the AM turns. Okay, so 31 flak points. I'm like, well, my God, you're never going to fly a successful supply interdiction mission, which I did. That mission ended up being squat. So the deal is that flak can remove so much of the escort, or the rules are actually pretty simple when you're executing the mission, and then or the escort can remove so much of the flak, and then whatever flak is remaining against whatever the supply interdicting air points are doing, you get a result. Well, okay, so 30, and it turns out that the flak points are, you divide them by 4 and round down. So 31 flak points divided by 4 came to 7, and you're going to take that away from the supply interdiction of the Allies. Well, that took me down to what? -5. So there was no result. So I realized, okay, well, that's pretty much useless. What I do need to validate is if you take those flak points and you pull them off the board, virtually, to be part of that, you're supposed to mark them on one of the turn record or one of the record tracks up there, so you know how many you got. When you bring them back in on the same phase in the next AM game turn, can they be used again that very same turn? Steve thinks he believes yes you can, because it's flak, it's everywhere anyhow. So I haven't got to that point. I'll do that the next time I go to do the supply interdiction. And of course, most players' philosophy is just use your air for ground support, which is probably the better thing. I like to use it for ground interdiction to slow movement down, but the Germans don't look very thick in here, although they got some SS Panzer units eventually that may come on. So, all right, so that's where I'm at in GOSS. I'm still into the first game turn. I'm into the second column of the sequence of play. You got that big 11-pager out there, but somebody's got to redo it because it doesn't line up with the newest rules. Somebody probably already has, just to know where it is. But the sequence of play for the game with the new player aid chart, and they, like I say, they reference all the rules, all right, where to go look for the rules. But you see it's 2 pages, all right, to get through one through one game turn. Now, when you're playing this, don't mix up game turn with game day. You got GT and GD. So you've got 4 phases to each day track: AM, PM, night, and then extend to night if you're having that. And of course, in one of those, you got to choose a rest period, which is probably going to be night for most, is the default. That's for me playing solo. That's what I'm going to go. It's going to be the night turns is going to be the rest turn. So you go through 4 phases, then the turn record track changes to the next game day. And this game is each is 1 day. So this starts on September 12th. So after 4 phases, it'll kick over to September 13th. All right, there you go. This is Hurtgen, Hell's Forest, the GOSS system from Decision Games. I'm going to be focused on this because I need to learn the system. And then I'm not sure where I'm going after this. I'm thinking right now, because I'm kind of excited about it, is the Battalion Combat series. But you know me, Hexy, I jump around all over the damn place. Or it may just be another GOSS game. Over there, I still have Rebels. Here come the Rebel setup. I'm going to set up one of the bigger scenarios. I think scenario 3 that you can just play on the Western map. I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to take my Smolensk down right now because I don't even have the brain power to look at that while I'm trying to learn GOSS. I'm just going to try to focus on this. All right, here we go. GOSS. Let's get it posted so you see where Hexy has moved along to. Got some new stuff coming in. I'll probably do a video on that stuff here as soon as I get it. I got a really cool game that Clay Stone sent me that I need to video so y'all can see that. All right, let's get this up. Talk to y'all later. Peace.